A day in the neighborhood. A day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Would you be my neighbor? Hi, everybody. Um, it is obviously the weekend which we commemorate the Tops massacre. I know that there are things all over the place. I will probably not make many of those places, and I want to thank those who are doing anything that brings honor to those 10, and anything that helps us to remember that there are still racist white supremacists out there. So this show today, and if anything could go wrong today, it did. Well, I shouldn't say if anything, but so some of the resources that I use to look up stuff, I'm locked out of it because of my debit card. So I had somebody compromise my debit card. I get rid of my debit card, and then you got all these things that your debit card is attached to, and then if you don't remember, then you get subscriptions cut off. So lady told me it was going to be $120. I said, okay. Then she comes back to the phone and adds another $90. And I was like,
Right.
where's $90 from? She said, oh, hold on a minute. Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. Nope. I added it twice. I would have had a subscription for 5 years. Do you have, I'm texting, I got to find somebody with a Buffalo News account. Because all of my material was in there, and I tried to, be new wave. I know this weekend I'm not going to go over the stuff because everybody already knows where everything is. This is so funny. My phone, literally, everything. So I've been up since 3:30, so I'm not in to Buffalo News. I am not in the best right now. And then I went home. I just flew in this morning. And when I got home, somebody rode past the house and just threw a champagne bottle out the window
Oh God.
in the driveway.
Jeez.
So, we got this event tonight with comedian, and so I know I got to go home and get a little couple hours because I am not in the best place right now. And I think part of it is just flying back knowing that this weekend was going to be full of a lot of emotions, but I guess I can look at the Buffalo News and just can't open the article. Just can't open the article. A lot of emotions, and let me see if I can log in here. And I want to be careful of where I'm at because a lot of times when people are emotional, I think that so many people feel like not enough has occurred in a year. And I am afraid those emotions will at times take over the narrative. And I just want to say to folks out there, we got to keep the narrative on where it needs to be, and that's on a white supremacist who came into our city and killed 10 people. There are so many positive, let me see if it let me jump through, so many positive articles that are out here right now. Won't let me open them, but I read them, so I can talk about them. And one is about this resiliency center. And there was an article in the Buffalo News about, and it's titled United to Make a Change. Recalls a year of helping to heal and how the city is still going through healing and having this resiliency center right on Jefferson, I believe, and having a director His father, I believe, is a police officer, but having a young person, mental health professional, who's running it, there are so many positives that are going on. Also, this situation with Urban League, I think they're part of that, and the monies that the Urban League has gotten. Obviously, none of this is enough. We're talking about decades of racism, decades of neighborhoods needing to be rebuilt. And, the first anniversary, in most cases, are some of the toughest days. You start getting down the line, and when there's there's not going to be all this attention every year, unfortunately, and there should be. And the reason I say that is taking up this kind of, as I talked about the other week, this kind of resilience, but this kind of Holocaust remembrance that I've learned that they never let it go. Right. They never let it go.
Right.
Never. And we can't, after year one, come up with something else. Say, that's not important anymore, because no, this is so important, because at the end of the day, we have to remember the 10. We have to remember, and if my computer ends up letting me get in before this show, it may. I think it's so important that we remember the 10. But a lot of people feel like not enough has been done. I want to know how you all feel out there. I don't think that, obviously we're not healed yet, so I'm going to be careful about being in different areas, because I admitted the other day that I've spent a year really paying attention to everybody else.
Yep.
And everybody else's hurt, and everybody else's request, and everybody else's need. And I signed up for it, so I'm not making an excuse. I'm not complaining. I'm being very transparent that I don't know where my head is. So I don't want to be in the wrong setting at the wrong time, because some folk are going to take this off the rail. And they're going to take it off the rail to be in front of a camera, and they're going to take it off the rail to say something that gets the news all riled up. And I pray that our major news stations stay on track.
Yep.
And don't look for the person who's trying to be different by bringing conflict into our neighborhood. We've already had that. We had that a year ago. And many beautiful things have come out of this tragedy, whether it is how many people are going to seek mental health counseling now. And now, when I was driving in from the airport, I saw a billboard on this side from some agency, billboard on that side from some agency, opened up the paper, and when I could see it before they kicked me out, and saw other events that are going on, healing circles. Yeah. Diamond sent me something on another healing circle. We ain't never had this much talk. Now, we ought to be mentally healed after this. We ought to be such a better people, such better individuals after this, because the opportunity is there to talk, and it's all over the place, and the stigma is not as much. Now, I know they're still working on the memorial. Now, I don't know if they're unveiling something this weekend. I'm sure it's going to be all kinds of unveilings.
At the corner of Tops, I think yesterday they had the display of what their memorial is going to be right there on that corner. So if you ride by there now, the sign has changed, so you can see a sample of what it's going to be.
Did you see it?
I did not drive by it.
All right. If anybody saw it, tell me what that looks like. Shuki said, and I agree with this, as long as we never stop talking about it, I think it can get better. I definitely agree. But I said this, and I'm going to keep saying it. And after, this week, I can't move on, but we could talk about other stuff as it relates to this. But I definitely think there has to be something beyond a monument. a monument is good, a statue is good, whatever the memorial is going to be, but it has to be a movement.
Yeah.
And it has to be, because when people come to Buffalo, they're going to want, this happens all the time. They want to ride past Tops. They want to see the place. It's the same thing like Pulse nightclub and other places where there have been mass shootings. People come to town, but I don't think it's enough for them to just see it. I think there has to be a place here in Buffalo where we highlight this nation's, some people in this nation's appetite for white supremacy. You have to be able to walk in and see the 10, but you also have to be able to walk in and feel, and I don't mean it as a place that angers people. I mean it as a place that educates people. Because there, sometime in education you can become angry.
Yep.
But then how do you walk through that place or space and walk out with your conscience open? And that definitely happened when I went to Israel and went to the Holocaust Museum, and you see articles that belong to somebody that was killed in the gas chambers. But you walk through and then you see the progress of a people and the fact that they're saying we're not going to forget them and we're going to do better. I think that it is so important that happens here in Buffalo, and that the only thing that we are known for is not just the massacre, but the healing and the information. I think is just so important. Let me see if I can do this way. So I'm looking at so many people, devoted community member, won't give up on Buffalo's Jefferson Avenue. I want to highlight some of these people because when people say nothing is happening, and this is on, I'll give credit to WKBW, where they talk about Lenny Lane. And they say there have remained one constant through the year after the Tops mass shooting tragedy on Jefferson in Buffalo. Lenny Lane, the president of Buffalo Fathers Organization, along and with Peacemakers, has brought a food and clothing mobile response truck to the Jefferson community filled with hope and help and hope. And then he's interviewed. Lenny, I have nothing but great respect for people. Lenny retired and then he didn't retire. And if I was retired, I'd be out there every day too. With him. I'm not going to say every day. Lenny, this is his thing. I'm not taking away from that. This is his thing. He's been out there, and I want to say big ups, and I would be out there more with him. We were over there the other day. Says he grew up just blocks from Jefferson Avenue where the tragic massacre took place. He's also a retired Buffalo firefighter who spent 25 years working right down the street from Tops. So Lenny has been out there. I want you all who are on social media, hit me up with some people that either we know about who have been active or some people we don't know about who have done something as far as response in any way. I'm going to start right here at True Bethel, and Diamond Barnwell, who's with Best Self, has just been on the front line. And as a matter of fact, I saw her several times at events just in the back in case she is needed. A mental health professional who graduated from Medaille, who I don't know what's going to happen with Medaille. I wish I really felt like talking about that, but I don't. And her and Best Self, and not her and Best Self, she's not the boss, but especially the leaders of Best Self and you want to throw some other folks out there, please put it on my Facebook feed at Power to the People radio show, and I'll shout them out because it wasn't just Best Self. Best Self is just the one I know of more for our contacts at the church. But even right now going on at Roswell was a discussion today at Roswell, I believe hosted by Edith Lewin. And so that's going on. Also, also Catholic Charities and Lenny Lane's response effort begins right here. Catholic Charities in South Buffalo, the article says, where he gets donated food to bring to East Buffalo. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it loud and clear. And I said it right after the massacre, and I'm going to say it again, because I don't know what the Roman Catholic Church's total response was, but I will say this: at least in the churches in our communities, I saw a big response. I saw signs outside speaking against hate at St. Martin de Porres. I say this, so I don't know what the Roman Catholic Church's total response, but I'm not going to take away the fact that they did respond. Now, where I have a stick in my tooth is about other pastors, some black, mostly white, who went radio silence. And I hold no grudge. I hold no animosity. I'm just glad you showed your true colors. Because a lot of folks always want to have these ecumenical services. And Bryson, he's been sick, so we're praying for Elder Bryce. But he introduced me, encouraged me to look at a book that I actually have right here on Kindle, and it talks about about the black church. It talks about the white church, but I guess what just really I'm still dealing with is people who want to have these kind of kumbaya moments during the year, or churches of the suburbs who decide that they know how to run churches better.
Yep.
And want to come into communities, and we'll start a church and we'll plan it and we'll da-da-da-da. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but when you want to open up a church in the neighborhood, but you couldn't visit the neighborhood during our biggest tragedy, you couldn't speak about it from your pulpit, or you didn't. And you didn't in a loud enough way that let people know you were against white supremacy. I don't mean getting up talking about we praying for the families of the Buffalo 10, because some churches have white supremacists sitting in them and they know it.
Yep.
So I said it then, I say it now. Miss me with all the we want to have kumbaya ecumenical service if you did not open up your mouth to speak against white supremacy, period. Other than that, I'm too old to be phony about it. We gonna just move on. Shuki, tell me what Andre Clark. Andre Clark is my man. Oh, yeah. Andre. See, it's people, and this is why I want you to come on, hit me up, on those of you on Facebook, especially. I don't know. We have a phone line?
Yes.
We got a number? I know you got to look it up.
It is.
Oh, wait a minute. I might have it here.
Is it on there?
No.
It's 716-541-0866.
Say it one more time.
541-0866.
So you can call me. I want to highlight some people who, I don't care how little it was, how big it was all big. It was all big. So I don't care what it was.
I was going to say, we had even from day one, the peacemakers stayed on scene. Pastor Giles and his crew, they were on scene from day one. And I know, like you said, I'm just thinking now, because like you said, reminiscing 1 year through, I got to shout out Buffalo Police and our first responders, because they, again, day one, from the moment we were there, and they were faithful and making sure everyone was good, taking care of the families. And
yes, and they're still doing that.
Still.
And I know it's easy to criticize, but it ought to be as easy to say to the officers out there who did a good job, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's okay. And it doesn't make you this bad person because you tell people who responded. I remember when we showed up at the scene and some of the bros was outside, and they were undone, and I understand it, because they had been standing on that corner. They witnessed the man come out. And I just remember one brother saying to me, Pridgeon, why is he still alive? And you know what? Honestly, I thought the same thing until I had a talk with the police commissioner. And what he said to me, if the officers had responded by shooting him, he would have kept shooting. He would have kept shooting, and more people, because remember, he's in body armor. The officers are showing up with their sidearm, which possibly wouldn't have went through the body armor. So that means unless you're getting a direct shot to that, and I hate to be like, if you're not getting that direct shot, there could have been more people killed in that parking lot. And I never thought about that. So I agree with first responders, ambulance who showed up. I had a person in my head. Oh, Marnetta Malcolm. Yep. She was out there. Matter of fact, she suffered a health tragedy during it, in which Senator Kennedy and others got involved to help revive her. But when I tell you, because she was so wound up 2 days before, in her emotions, and she was just so angry. And then she suffers this health tragedy. And as soon as she got back out of the hospital, Marnetta was back on Jefferson.
Sure was.
So we cannot pretend that nothing has come out of this. Who we got on the phone?
You got Queen Doyle.
Queen Doyle, who is in the Buffalo News, who's saying, keep your life. Well, let me not take her thunder. You're going to have to talk to her because I think I'm too far away.
You're on the air.
Oh, yes. Good afternoon, Bishop. This is Miss Doyle. I've been encouraging people for the last couple of weeks to join me in turning on their porch lights. In the evening, beginning this evening, Saturday evening, and Sunday, to honor and memory of the victims and those injured of the Tops massacre. So I'm hoping people will, some people may not be able to get out to some of the events that are planned this weekend, but they want to do something on a personal level so they can turn on their porch lights. Now, if people don't have a porch light, I have a suggestion. If you have a battery-operated lantern, you can put that on your door, or a solar light, or even some white Christmas lights. Just in the most important thing, to do this in memory of those people we lost the best of us on that May 14th. I just wanted to announce that, Bishop Pridgeon. Thank you for letting me do that.
Thank you, Sister Doyle. And I saw her article, and I'm back in. I feel like when you go to Facebook jail, and then they finally let you back in. The lady told me 3 days. I knew it wasn't going to be 3 days because they took my $100-something. So, yeah, I saw her article in which she asked people to turn their lights on. And that's another thing. And Miss Doyle, in educating us, was so important. Boy Scout Troop number 2. Helped out. I'm getting on Facebook, Boy Scout Troop number 2. Give us a number one more time, Mark.
It is 541-0866, 541-0866.
So now that I can see this, it's Chardonnay Young Ford is her name. And she is now the head of the Buffalo United Resiliency Center, blocks away from the supermarket. The mental health counselor has a drawer full of obituaries for the 10 people who were killed at Tops 1 year ago. And she says this: on the many difficult days over the last year, young Ford, or they said this, always remembered who she was serving, the victims' families and the Tops associates and customers who survived, and why she had to keep going. You have to remember your why. Now, I'm not trying to be on the controversial side before we go to commercial, because I really want to stay on the remembrance side of these 10 and those who helped. But just like you mentioned, and I know what's going to be said, but I'm going to thank them. You mentioned Buffalo police and first responders. I know the store wasn't the best.
Yep.
But I want you to see like what we're struggling with right downtown right now, trying to get how we tried to get a grocery store and nobody would come. So they did, I believe, brought a subpar store to our neighborhood, but they brought one.
Yeah.
No, it was not the suburban model.
Yep.
They brought one. And then after the massacre, and I know there's people say it wasn't cleaned out, I promise you, they had to
Everything
remove
out.
every item from that store. And then they rebuilt.
Yep.
I go in there on a weekly basis.
Yes.
Although it may be convenient sometime when I'm out somewhere else, I try to make sure that I drop $1 in there. And I'm going to tell you why. The 10 deserve that
Yep.
because obviously they thought that grocery store was important enough for it to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who work there,
Yeah.
almost every time that I go in there, you know, I try not to mess with the workers. You know, they're working, but if they see me, it's always like, Pridge, it's always so pleasant. And I feel a responsibility to ensure they keep eating because they keep working. And because they keep working, they deserve to keep eating.
Yeah.
And if they don't have the business there, then it's business. They'll close down.
Yep.
So I do go there, and I do respect, let me say this, those who don't agree with me.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And we don't have to agree. But I think that we need to be more agreeable that we can disagree
Absolutely.
without painting the other one. A museum, Irene says on Facebook, a museum on Jefferson Avenue and changed the name of the street to Buffalo 10 or 514. You know, I would have, let me tell you this. I ain't have no problem changing it when we were doing the police stuff. Now, people were all on that, and I said, let's go. Let's go. I mean, Jefferson, obviously, it wasn't the nicest person to black folks.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, I would be so supportive. And I don't mean an honorary designation. I don't mean putting up some sign that does not change the address, that does not change your mailing address, that does not, I'm talking about for real change of the street. And I had I'm very honest about this. My social studies teacher, I pray he's still alive. I'm going to feel really bad if he died over this last year. White, suburban, he was from the suburbs. He lives downtown now. But I would stop in to see him. He owns a business. We would always have these conversations. I haven't spoken to him since the protests. So it's been 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
Because he sent me a letter, and I'm only saying this because I know I have to make this right. He sent me a letter. Nice. I'm not that it was negative. Oh, we got to pay the bills. I'm going to tell you about his letter. I'm coming back. Who's over there? Shad?
Yes. Yep.
I'm coming to you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to pay the bills.
When it comes to something as personal as your clothes, you need to deal with somebody you can trust. That's why so many people turn to Hobson's Dry Cleaning, conveniently located in the heart of the community at 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming.
When you take your clothes to Hobson's, you can trust that they'll be ready on time.
You can trust that your whites will be white.
You can trust that you'll always get a fair price and service with a smile.
You can even trust that you won't have to get out of your car if you don't want to. Hobson's has a drive-through window for your convenience.
Trust is what it's all about at Hobson's Dry Cleaning.
Hobson's Dry Cleaning, your one-stop dry cleaners serving the community for over 30 years at 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming. Call 891-8298. That's 891-8298.
Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home has 3 locations to serve you in Buffalo. 347 Peckham, 2258 Bailey Avenue, and Providence Memorial Chapel at 1275 Sycamore. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes offers traditional services, and they have services for all faiths. And at Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes, they have air-conditioned parlors and chapels. Financing is available, as is limousine service. At those difficult moments in your life, Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes is available where you are with counseling services. Call toll-free 877 877-885-7734. That's 877-885-7734. Or locally, 845-5545. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes. We are here to serve you, here to serve this present age. Call today, toll free, 877-885-7734. Or email info@brianklewisfuneralhome.com.
So, if you're just tuning in, I was talking about the letter I got from my social studies teacher. So he sends, and it was basically like, hey, we shouldn't be changing the name of streets and changing the name of buildings. That's an opportunity to have discussion. And I just wasn't in the space to want to have a discussion.
Right.
And being transparent with somebody who doesn't understand the struggle of Black people
Yep.
and what names represent and how we are some of the only people that are kind of forced to have those names.
Yep.
Because I promise you, if you go to Clarence Central, Williamsville, Amherst, if there was the name up on their street of a Black person who brutalized or allowed brutality of white people, they would take it down.
Mm-hmm.
I guess sometimes I get tired of people telling us what we need.
Yeah.
And so I have not talked to him.
I think there's to give you a perfect example. I think on Sheridan Drive, they didn't finish the statue. I think it's up on the Tonawanda end. They didn't finish the statue because the guy became controversial. So it's just like the base and.
I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah, they never put the top on it.
Yeah.
But even look at trying to think of what the big controversy, not controversy, but I would say correction of using Native American names.
Yep.
And, you got one school saying, we want to keep it because we got a lot of Native Americans. And Native Americans like, no, y'all going to get rid of this. And they're like, listen to what they're saying. Oh, it's going to cost us a lot to change the logo on the gym floor.
Yep.
And to change the scoreboard. And to change, at the end of the day, some of the names in our neighborhoods, if you look at the research, and I promise you, Queen Doyle, could give us a list of streets that, and I know changing a street might not mean a lot, but obviously names matter. Names matter. I'm sure there's a list of streets in Buffalo. I know it, as a matter of fact, that were of slave owners and of owning Africans. Another thing I want to highlight that has happened, and it just happened, it was just announced yesterday, and that's a lawsuit that is going forward by the families of Andre McNeil and of Catherine Cat Massey and of Hayward Patterson. And it is a lawsuit being brought by John Elmore, his daughter, and some other attorneys. And this lawsuit basically is suing the social media platforms. I'll read a portion of it. The families and survivor are suing social media platforms. They say helped radicalize the killer with racist, anti-Semitic, and violent content, and also allowed him to live stream his deadly rampage, which was uploaded and shared on other sites. So they're suing the big money. And if they get through with this is a big game changer. But I want to say this, and I stay away most of the time from the comments on social media, especially from like the news. And I think only one outlet still allows comments. But you know what? I see a common thread. When people comment negatively about Black people, that thread goes on and on and on and on. The other day there was an article, and somebody started going in the opposite way, and they disabled the comments.
Wow.
And I say this, either disable the comments, period, which I'm not against, disable the daggone comments. Because if you're going to pick and choose when you disable the comments and when you don't, at the end of the day, they're talking about for a healthy discussion. When have you seen a healthy discussion in those comments?
Yeah, stop it.
When have you seen a healthy discussion? Disable the daggone comments, but don't go in there and cherry pick. I mean, we're called all kinds of stuff, monkeys and all kinds of stuff, and they stay up. It stays up. So the media, I mean, you know, social media, I don't, you know, I think it's so far out there right now that it's going to be hard to rein it in. But I think that if it hits them in their pocket,
Absolutely.
if it hits them in their pocket, because that's all they care about. But here's the question that we'll talk about another day, but not on this anniversary day, is how far is free speech and where does it end? And so is somebody sitting back on the computer monitoring comments to decide what that is? And in this world, what'll happen is the same thing the former president did. He went and started his own social media.
Sure did.
This man went and said, okay, you're not going to let me tweet? I'll go out and I'll start my own. So that will happen over and over again.
Yeah.
Now, whether they get the popularity and whether they get the following is a whole nother situation. She's on it already. I can't believe it. Kamal says Dr. King Avenue. I wouldn't be against that either. Queen Doyle says, greetings, everyone. Just a little history. Jefferson used to be called Pollard Street when the area was only inhabited by the German community. And at the...
Can you see it? I got it.
Go ahead.
And at Jefferson, there was a park called Luna Park where other ethnic communities visited. It was a very popular park where the Sears and Roebucks used to be.
I remember that.
The name Jefferson, named for the third president of the United States, who was a slave owner and had 9 children by a slave mistress, Sally.
This woman's brain.
Yeah, I have all of their names. I have done my articles about this in my column, Eye on History. I do have the origin of the street names in Buffalo. Watch my column, and I will write about them.
I love her. I just love her. I don't know how old Queen, but I can tell you this. Her mind,
Sharp.
it ain't lost nothing. When you could just sit down in front of a computer and type like that with the names and everything else, God didn't give me that. He didn't. He really did not. So that's going on, this lawsuit. I'm trying to get a little more into the nitty-gritty there. This is Matthew Bergen speaking, the founding attorney of Social Media Victims Law Center. This horrible crime was neither an accident nor coincidence, but rather the foreseeable result of social media companies' intentional decision to maximize user engagement over public safety. And I totally agree. We've all many have seen the documentaries, everything on algorithms, how they're set up. And so I do agree that it's one thing if the platform is just out there and nobody is arranging it to bring the negative to the top.
Absolutely.
But there are people and algorithms and computers programmed forward that are programming this so that the more negative and certain words, they reach the top and they reach a wider audience. And that's why when you get on certain social medias, I ain't gonna call them out. I don't feel like no daggone lawsuit. I ain't got no money for no lawsuit. But I'll say this allegedly, that there are certain, you're not gonna get on some of the social media platforms and see somebody's birthday party first.
Right.
Well, we had a good time at Lil Nene's 3rd birthday party. That ain't coming up first.
Right.
Put a fight that happened
the fight
at
at the
Nene's,
birthday,
and some cuss words, and Lil Nene party going to the top. And that is what Attorney Elmore, Attorney Bergen are fighting against. And I totally agree, and I wish them all the best because I totally agree. I've seen it. I've seen it happen to myself. I've seen it happen to others. And you go like, where did all these people come from? What algorithm?
Yep.
More people liked, more people shared, and it goes to the top. Now you sign on, and it's right there at the top. I agree. So the radicalism, and when you already got these minds out here that ain't right, in some of these folks who were brought up to believe that they were superior, and now they're on. As one woman says on YouTube, Obama's internet. I don't know why she says that. She cracks me up every time. It's a sister comedian on YouTube. She's on when you on Obama's internet. So at the end of the day, when that's the scenario, I agree with them. Sue them. They got enough money. They done made enough money on death, on separating people, on destroying neighborhoods, on fake stuff that they never followed up. I'm glad to see them policing now more of social media.
Yeah.
I really am.
Yeah, and it was crazy. I was watching this other show podcast, and they were talking about social media platforms, and they were saying that the biggest one, like you said, I ain't gonna call names, but
One of the big ones.
One of the big ones that occupies two of the spaces made, I think it was over $1 billion in ads. It almost took up 40% of their revenue stream just on the, like you said, what people are paying to put out there.
Yes.
And that became their business model.
Yes, yes.
It's just crazy.
And then the bad thing is, we believe some of the crap.
Oh, absolutely.
Most of it. Where'd you hear that? Oh, it was all on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's another thing that is happening. New York Attorney General sues gun part maker, accusing company of making Buffalo mass shooting deadlier. So there's a lot of moving parts, folks, that I don't want us to forget. Attorney General Letitia James filed a lawsuit Thursday in New York State Supreme Court against the gun accessory manufacturer Mean Arms, alleging the company helped the convicted Tops gunman evade state prohibitions on high-capacity assault rifles. The killer, PG, it's hard for me to say his name. I can't even imagine if I had a baby named that.
Yeah.
I'd be like down trying to change it. Killed 10 people at the Tops Market store on Jefferson. Under New York state law, enhanced AR-15 style rifles, like the one he used, must include a mechanism that locks a 10-round magazine in the rifle's receiver. Mean Arms manufacturer and markets such a mechanism called I'm not going to bore you with that part. Here's the point. So there's lawsuits that are going forward. So there's not people just sitting back going, 10 people dead, we're gonna memorialize them, and then that's over.
Right.
So the state attorney general has filed a lawsuit. The governor of the state advanced concealed gun legislation. And I've said it here, didn't agree with all of it. That was changed. Some of the parts were changed.
Yep.
So now, by the way, pastors, if you're listening, you can now carry in your church and your those who are deemed security.
Right.
Which everybody's security at Truebill. Everybody who got a concealed license.
Hallelujah.
Is security, because we are brothers and sisters. Now, so that was changed. The president is doing a big push to change gun laws.
Yep.
But I want you all to remember, he does not have both houses.
Nope.
So at the end of the day, some of what we want and want it to happen tomorrow is going to take your vote.
Yeah.
Of people who believe in the same thing. If you believe in I do believe that everybody shouldn't be running around here with a weapon. And this is me. We ain't got to fight about it. I'm just telling you how I feel. I do believe there is no reason to have an assault weapon.
No, not on the street.
There is just none.
No.
What you hunting? Rabbits? The problem is they end up hunting people. People is what they're hunting. They are not going out shooting deers. They're shooting people with these weapons that just spit out bullets fast. Yeah. That's the difference, folks. Spit out. Brr. compared to a gun where you have to pull a trigger, either, and pull a trigger and pull a trigger. No, when we're talking about these assault weapons, they are spitting out bullets in seconds.
Yeah, and I heard when I was talking to the AG's office about their lawsuit, that was the biggest thing. That lock turned the gun from a semi-automatic to fully automatic. So like you said, if you don't get it, that's just where I could just hold the trigger and it's just firing until the clip is empty.
Absolutely. I was in a town this week, and they had a machine gun place where you could shoot machine guns. I always wanted to. Mm-hmm. I don't anymore.
Really?
I was like, I have no, I don't know. I think maybe especially because it was this week.
Yeah.
And it was just like, nah, I can't even imagine that being in my hand. And I know, and just feeling that.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they use. They probably don't even use, they probably use BBs or something. I didn't want it in my hand. I told you, I ain't all the way there yet. I got some work to do. I got some work to do on me. Can someone explain algorithm? Somebody said they on the security team. Amen. Did I get almost everything?
You want me just while you're scrolling, I can hit the algorithm question?
Go ahead.
So an algorithm is basically just a formula, a computer formula that allows certain buzzwords and keywords to be triggered so it stays in your timeline, in your feed, on your phone, and advertisements. So everybody using it. So your movies, your commercials, your advertising, your social media, they all use algorithms to determine what you're interested in to show you the most things that would affect you to make you spend your money.
So if your if it picks up that you like watching violence,
Yep.
or you click on things when it's going to bring it up. It's the same way if I do a search, and that's why you got to be careful about your what's called cookies.
Yep.
And there's still, even if you turn down cookies, there's one cookie that says that is basically necessary to run the
Yep.
program, right? That's picking up data.
Yep.
And you look for a pair of shoes. Every time you get back on that computer or sign into that Gmail, it's going to bring up shoes. Yep. and it's agitated.
Yeah, and now just saw an IG reel. They were talking about how you have to turn the mics off on your phone because your phone is now constantly listening.
Oh, my God.
And so that's why. So especially for, I don't know if Android users, it pops up for you, but on Apple, it will say when you put in a new app, it says ask app not to track.
Wow.
And you want to make sure you turn that off so that the phone isn't listening for that app.
Well, I'll tell you this. I had to get some work done to to a system in my house. And when the guy came, and it's from a national company, the amount he gave me was ridiculous for a newer system.
Wow.
So he says, you know what? I tell you what. I just want you to buy a Google, what's the little
Google Home.
Buy a Google Home for $49.
Yeah.
I'll weigh the rest. My company want me to get rid of these. Let me tell you where that Google Home is. Still in the box. I paid them the $49, and it's in the box. Because we already got Alexa in the house. Everybody ain't going to be listening. And I disconnect Alexa when I'm home.
Yeah.
I walk right over to her and unplug Alexa. And because I don't trust it, it's listening. It's listening for its name.
Yep.
And it's listening. So it means if it's listening for its name, it's listening.
Yep.
And I have said words at times that it woke up and thought I called it.
Absolutely.
And I don't like that. Second of all, I don't like the fact that now it's suggesting stuff. Oh, Darius, would you like me to start telling you jokes? I didn't ask you.
Yep. You want to start a grocery list based on your last purchase?
No, I didn't ask you for that, homegirl. All I asked you for was the weather. That's all I asked you for was the weather.
Yeah.
And so that's algorithms and what it does. So basically, this is what these lawsuits are about with Elmore, the attorney general getting involved and saying you all are making these weapons. And a lot of it, folks, whether you know it or not, is politics. It is politics because there are certain things that your city council cannot do that really needs Mark, see if you could find a list of the 10. You got it?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's why I was picking up the challenge.
Oh, wow, because we definitely want to say their names before we go off the air. Did you
Because
find it?
I'm looking, but that's what I actually, yes, there's actually, somebody actually had an article in here. But I just wanted to shout out because there was family members that we left out in the first half that have been on the ground working the whole year, like Mark Talley.
Mark Talley, I met with him recently.
Who's been with Lenny Lane almost, he started an organization and
And just released a book.
and released a book. And you know, we all know former Commissioner Gardner Whitfield. He's been all over the country speaking and being an advocate. And I believe the Young family just did something recently. The Salter family is doing like an event this weekend in the park. It's,
Garnell Whitfield has done
Yeah.
had the speak, and not only that, got the church roof of his mother's church redone.
Yep.
Keep going. I'm looking at another article. See, there's so many articles in here.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of what I knew off the top of my head because, like you said, a lot of these families have been working the
Yes.
whole year as well, trying to get through their own grief, and trying to turn that into something positive in honor of their family member.
Yeah, and if you if you got an account, I called a lot of people and asked them, did they have a Buffalo News account? Nobody had one. That's scary. Because maybe everybody's just looking at the news, maybe? Because ain't nobody had no account, and I was locked out. There is Alex that I want to Alex
Yeah,
Wright.
he's been on the ground too.
And you know, just in all transparency, I know there was an article and yada yada yada, but at the end of the day, I'm still in support, and I want them to do it right. I want them to be able to do it. I'm gonna say the sponsors, and then I'm going to read, which we need to hear their names all weekend. And I want to thank Hobson's to Dr. Dry Cleaning. If you have not gone over to 874 East Delavan to see the monument that she commissioned from her own pocket, it is there. It is beautiful. She does not mind you taking pictures on it. Don't damage her grass. She got some of the prettiest grass in the city. Don't damage grass. Just walk on it. Walk over to it and take a picture.
Hold on. I was getting ready to jump in on Hobson's because I was in there the other day and I was talking to her. So congratulations. She's actually out of town for her grandchild's graduation.
Oh, wow.
And they, I said I was going to give the worker a shout out because she was expediting one of my suits. And the worker looked over and was like, he's trying to get it by when? And so we all just had a laughing moment. So I said I was going to shout him out specifically for that story.
All right. The great workers over there. Great workers.
Absolutely.
Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home, 347 Peckham, 2528 Bailey, and to serve you in your hour of need. This week they took care of the Jordan family, the Peak family, and the Rice family, to name a few. I think we did all the talking we need to do.
Absolutely.
And I will take my time to read. I will take my time. Hi, Apostle from Columbus, Ohio, is on. I'll take my time to read these names. In memory of Celestine Cheney. In memory of Hayward Patterson. In memory of Roberta Drury. In memory of Aaron Salter Jr. In memory of Andre McNeil. In memory of Geraldine Talley. In memory of Catherine Massey. In memory of Ruth Whitfield. In memory of Margus Morrison. And in memory of Pearl Young. Until next week, power to the people.